The Passion of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Luke. The feast of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was now drawing near. And the chief priests and the scribes were looking for some way of doing away with him, because they mistrusted the people. Then Satan entered into Judas, so named Iscariot, who was numbered among the 12. He went to the chief priests and the officers of the guard to discuss a scheme for handing Jesus over to them. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He accepted and looked for an opportunity to betray him to them without the people knowing. The day of unleavened bread came round, the day on which the Passover had to be sacrificed. And Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Where do you want us to prepare it?" they asked. They set off and found everything as he had told them, and prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus took his place at table, and the apostles with him, and he said to them,
"I have not eaten this Passover with you for I suffer. Because I tell you, I shall not eat it again until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God."
Then taking the cup, he gave thanks and said,
Take this and share it among you, because from now on I shall not drink wine again until the kingdom of God comes.
Then he took some bread, and when he had given thanks, broke it and gave it to them, saying,
"This is my body, which shall be given for you. Do this as you will."
He did the same with the cup after supper and said,
"This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which will be poured out for you. Yet, with me on the table here is the hand of the man who betrays me. Son of man, you live. Not so it will stay, even as it has been decreed. But alas, that man died for you."
And when they began to ask one another which one of them it could be who was to do this thing, a dispute arose also between them, and about which should be reckoned the greatest. But he said to them,
Among the guys, it is the kings who reign over them, and those who have authority over them are given the title of the God. This must not happen to you. No. The greatest among you must behave as if you were the youngest. The leader as if you were the one who serves. So who is greater? You are at the table or the one who serves?
He then left the upper room to make his way as usual to the Mount of Olives, with the disciples following. When they reached the place, he said to them, he then withdrew from them about a stone's throw away and knelt down and prayed, saying,
Father, if you are willing, let this cup, take away this cup from me. Nevertheless, let your will be done, not mine.
Then an angel appeared to him coming from heaven to give him strength. In his anguish, he prayed in earnestly, and his sweat fell to the ground like great drops of blood. When he rose from prayer, he went to disciples and found them sleeping for sheer grief. He said to them,
Why are you asleep? Wake up and pray unto yourself.
He was still speaking when a number of men appeared, and at the head of them the man called Judas, one of the 12, who went up to Jesus to kiss him. Jesus said,
Jesus, are you the Son of Man to the kiss?
his followers, seeing what was happening, said,
Lord, can you use our swords?
and one of them struck out at the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. But at this Jesus spoke,
Give up. That will do.
and touching the man's ear, he healed him. Then Jesus spoke to the chief priests and captains of the temple guard and elders who had come for him. He said,
Am I a bigger that you have to set out with swords and clubs? When I was among you in the temple, you never moved to lay hands on me. But this is your heart. This is the way of darkness.
They seized him then and led him away, and they took him to the high priest's house. Peter followed at a distance. They had lit a fire in the middle of the courtyard, and Peter sat down among them. As he was sitting there by the blaze, a servant girl saw him, peered at him, and said,
This person was with me. Woman, I do not know.
shortly afterwards, someone else saw him and said,
You are another of them. I do not know him, my friend.
about an hour later, another man insisted, saying,
This